Namaste, namaskar to everyone. Thank you again for attending today's show on December 4th. We have an excellent topic today. We have a great panel. Obviously, we have Dr. Swamy. We have Ramesh, who is the president of Temple Worshippers Society from Chennai, and we have Sree Iyer joining us today. And the topic for today is very interesting. And as you know, Dr. Swamy has had written a letter and issued a statement about the control of temples, and it has gone viral across the country, and people are really looking forward to what's going to happen, and even the chief minister has reacted to it. So the topic for today is the draconian control of temples by the state, and what are the constitutional remedies. And Dr. Swamy is going to help us out with that, and then we're going to talk to Ramesh, who's been doing some great work in Tamil Nadu as far as the temple and across the country as well, helping others in this cause. And Sree Iyer obviously has been championing this cause through his P Guru's channel, so we'll hear from him as well. So, Dr. Swamy, coming to you, you had written a letter, made a statement, and issued a letter to the Chief Minister Stalin, and detailing him as to why it is violative of the Supreme Court order for the states to control these temples, and they continuously keep doing it, and in violation of the court order, and with impunity. And you've given him a chance, or you've given him an opportunity. So why don't you walk us through what the letter is, and what the next steps are going to be? And plus, I think he has also reacted to your letter. So why don't we start off with that?
Yeah. Well, I would like to say that of all the states, almost every state has a large number of temples under control of the government. But somehow in Tamil Nadu, because of this so-called Dravidian movement, and by the way, the word Dravidian is a Sanskrit word, which was coined by Adi Shankara when he went on his tour of North India. From South India, he went all the places he was having debates, and which was called Shastrat, which means that if you lose, you convert to the other side, and if the other side loses, they convert to your side. So he made the whole of India Hindu again, and ultimately Hindu and Buddhism, which was ruling earlier, they came to the Mahayana Buddhism literally meant the Hinduization of Buddhism. So when he went to challenge the most foremost spokesman of Buddhist theology, and that was Mandana Mishra in Bihar, the debate started with the question being asked, who are you? So he said, I'm Dravida Shishu. Shishu means the child of. And Dravida, he explained, is where the three oceans meet. So one could say, you could trace it to the word Travid, and it became Dravid. So the Dravida word has been used widely as a South Indian peninsula. But unfortunately, after the British came, they brainwashed a group of rebellious people who made this as a kind of a badge of honor to say that they were Dravidians. And this whole cockeyed bullshit, if I may use this word, about Aryan Dravidian theory, the British concocted, because the word Arya is not a racial word; it's a word of culture. And if a man is cultured, they call him an Arya Putra. So Arya was used in South, it was used in North, and somehow they made out that South is Dravid and North is Aryan. So now, in that context, the Dravidian movement, which came because, they succeeded because I think the upper castes in Tamil Nadu were not like the upper castes in North India, where they had much more mingling with the backward classes. So, therefore, they came to power. And ironically, they took the services of Rajagopalacharya, who regretted afterwards for having campaigned for the DMK to come to power because of his anger over Jawaharlal Nehru and the Congress Party. In this background, they have regarded the temples as a stronghold of the Brahmins, and that the country looked up to the state people looked up to them because they were Brahmin means a person of either knowledge of the religion or a person who was a pujari or a priest. So, in that context, they have taken it so far today that as soon as they got a chance, anyone, even if those who are, so for instance, Kamaraj's time too, they took over temples. And there are, a very vast number of temples which they have taken in Tamil Nadu of nearly 450 odd. And they are extracting the resources from it. So the resources are going. Now, I looked at the collections. In the Tamil Nadu, the hundi collections, which is where people put money in a vessel, that alone was they ruled that it has to be deposited in a public sector bank, which is okay, but 14% of that was taken out for government office administration expenses. Now, government is putting these people there under the HRNC Act, which is another nonsensical act which needs to be struck down. That act, they put it, and then they take the money from the temple itself. And this is, first of all, wrong, and that too 14%. For what? It's never been accounted. I have demanded in the case of the Tirupati, I've got a CAG to audit the accounts. And I must give credit to the Chief Minister of Andhra, Jagan. Jagan, you see, Jagan agreed his representative, the Advocate General, agreed, said yes, this demand of Dr. Swamy will accept. So in the first state which is using CAG for auditing accounts, as opposed to government itself. Now, government is the ruling factor in a temple, and then they become the auditor or the accounts. I mean, that's totally contradictory, and it was totally wrong. And so all this has been bogus. But so anyway, 14%, where it went, there's no record of it. I mean, some vague records are there, but nothing specific. Then, in addition to that, they put a 4% audit fees. Any form or anything, that was a 4% of the, and the collection of from hundi is huge, and 4% is a very large amount. Up to 10%, commissioner common good fund. The commissioner, the commissioner of who's been appointed to look after the temple,
the HRNC commissioner.
Yeah, HRNC commissioner. He has a common good fund, and that's also not audited, and that's 10%. And then there is unaccounted numbers. I couldn't find it very hard. I've tried very hard, but couldn't find it. Of government run schemes, which the fund goes from the temple. If it's an area, they're building a road, they take the fund from the temple. So, therefore, you find pujaris' salaries and all frozen, and then they made that into that. There's no power that they can appoint pujaris, out of the question. Where is the thing? So that's why I come back to that Sabanayaga temple case, which I had to intervene because the Dikshitas went in the High Court single bench, High Court double bench, lost. And of course, they use lawyers, and then they said we can't have money, and we can't go to Delhi and appeal to the Supreme Court. So Dayanand Saraswati phoned me up and told me I'll be in prayer for you, but you have to do it. I first protested. I said, I have no experience in this kind of thing. How will I do it? How will I enter people? The court itself will throw me out. He said, no, there will be divine intervention. Just watch. It doesn't happen that way. And the judge who first admitted me to become the petitioner, one was a Muslim and the other was a Christian, both hardliners, known as hardliners. But somehow they began in a way, why are you here? But then slowly, after I explained that I'm a Hindu Dharma Acharya Sabha's legal advisor now, they may decide. Okay, so I argued that matter, and of course others pleaded and all that. But the Supreme Court says the state of Tamil Nadu versus the Subramanian Swamy. And of course, they also say in paragraph 3 of the judgment that while many have pleaded, but we are looking only at Dr. Swamy's petition. So, I mean, that is the extent to which the court got impressed. So, that says, now that's the point I want to have it coming to, says very clearly no temple can be taken over by the government except if it is established that there's been a financial mismanagement, then they can take over the finance department only and set it right in a brief period. I asked them 4 years, they said, no, let it be 5 years. But that they didn't put in the order. But they said short period. Rectify it and return it back to the temple. By that account, none of the temples today should be there. Now, if the Supreme Court orders are not observed by the state, do I have to go every day? I went for two particular temples, and there's so much objections, and all the advocate generals they come, and then there's adjournments and so on. So the Padmanabha Swami temple, I won the thing ultimately on one ground, which is the way I will lose in every other case, and that is they say, who do we hand it over to? In the case of Sabha Nagar, it was easy. The Dikshitas were there, this was taken over by Karunanidhi and the government, and then I got it and said, return it back to them. It has been returned back to them. But in Padmanabha Swami temple, who do I give it to? I said, give it to the Travancore royal family. So they said there's no such thing under the constitution, which is true. There are no Rajas and Ranis anymore in our constitution. So the same thing with Tirupati. It's got stopped. I've ordered Tirupati to become independent of the government. Although I must say the Jagan's administration is much more efficient than, say, the previous administrations. And there have been hardly any complaints. But the fact is, this is not the job of the government in a secular country. You say you're going to, and you have refused. Every government has refused to take up any Muslim religious institution or Christian religious institution. I can give you thousands of churches who have done gross misappropriation, but the government will not take it. So why this obsession with Hindu temples? And now the time has come for the Hindus to unite and revolt. And those in the other religions, if they want to come with us, we'll be happy to receive them. Because this is a general issue. Ultimately, it will become an issue of Hindu-Muslim or Hindu-Christian or Hindu minorities. Why should it lead to that kind of bitterness? So like the Ram temple, we went to court and got it solved. We'll get it, the other two, Krishna temple and Kashi Vishwanath also released. And after that, no more. And the Hindus and Muslims can live in peace. So the same way I'm saying, even the Muslims and the Christians should join with us and say, yes, what Dr. Swamy is saying is right. This You rectify any financial misappropriation. You can't say that they are not teaching Vedas properly, or they are doing being secretive, or their pujaris are being misappointed. None of that is our business. It's a secular state. And if you read Article 25, it only says and I should read it to you if you give me 3 more minutes. What it says is Article 25, subject to public order, morality, and health, all persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate religion. Temple is part of the propagation, and says nothing in this article shall affect the operation of any existing law to prevent the state from making any law regulating or restricting any economic, financial, political, and other secular activity which may be associated with religious practice. That is, the state can intervene if it is these things: economic, financial, political, or other secular activities. Only the act which they are using today to take over temples, none of these things have been put in there. And then it goes that providing social welfare and reform and throwing open the Hindu religious institution public character to all classes. That is for the so-called untouchables or scheduled castes. So to make a law that you have to allow them also to come if there's any place they're not being allowed to come. So, they, of course, must say one thing. They have defined in the constitution, they have defined that Hindus shall be construed to include a reference to persons professing Sikh, Jain, and Buddhism. So, Jains, Sikhs, and Buddhism, they also come under this Article 25. So, I am saying today, before I conclude, that what I want to tell you is that first of all, the state has a limited period according to the judgment I got in the Sabanaikar thing, 2014 judgment, and I wrote this letter to the chief minister to bring it to his notice, and I said, if you don't get out of the temples, you are committing contempt of court. The Supreme Court has ruled and given an order, and you're disobeying it. And I have a right to do. Why others have not done it? Because everybody is timid. And so they have not done it. And therefore, based on my own judgment that I got, I am telling the Mr. Because Tamil Nadu is the most excessive in Hindu hatred, Pujari hatred, Brahmin hatred, all anybody religious hatred. So that Dravidian movement has gone out of the constitutional boundaries and started taking revenge on or attacks on common people. Pujaris, they go and cut his Janeo. I mean, what business is there of you if he has a punal? You see, you go and cut it. Why? If he has a kurmi, you cut it. I mean, what kind of mentality is this? So Tamil Nadu is the worst case in anti-Hinduism. And therefore, I think we need a movement. And I intend to see whether Mr. Stalin, I will certainly ask him time to meet me. And let him bring his 2-3 cabinet colleagues. I know all of them anyway. Having been a member of parliament from Madurai, having run a huge campaign to send Jayalalitha to jail, and her Saheli, also, her associate. So I would say that time has come now for us, and the two experts here who also belong to Tamil Nadu, they should give their perspectives. I won't say anything more except saying that we have a duty to liberate Tamil Nadu from the shackles that have been placed on the Hindus.
Thank you, Dr. Swamy. So next we're going to have T.R. Ramesh. He's the president of Temple Worshippers Society. So Ramesh has been fighting. I mean, for all of us, please try to understand. I mean, all these fights, there is a foundation. The foundation stone is the Sabanagar temple case that Dr. Swamy has won. I mean, it is a landmark case without which all of these fights that we are having today is not possible. I mean, if it is a stretch, Ramesh can correct me, but I think that is pretty much what it is. Ramesh, you can unmute yourself. You're muted on your end, so you could please can unmute yourself. Yeah. So, Ramesh, I'm going to ask you start off with this. Okay. So you've been fighting. So please lay out what the draconian measures that this HRNC department has been doing. And recently, over Dr. Swamy's letter, the HRNC made a ridiculous comment saying that if Swamy has complaints, he can go to court, which is really crazy. Even he is complaining about you. Why should he go to court? Why are you not taking action? But anyway, so let's go through this. And you've also seen the reaction to the letter that Dr. Swamy has sent to Stalin. It has been received well across it's been spreading like wildfire among the Hindus across WhatsApp and social media and whatnot. So please give us a brief as to what the draconian measures that HRNC have been doing in your fights, and all anecdotal evidences as to how many RTIs you file, and they say you have no right for an RTI kind of jokes. And seriously, the HRNC thinks that it is living in its own world or universe. Go ahead, Ramesh.
Thanks to 2014 judgment on the Chidambaram temple, where the case title is Dr. Subramanian Swamy and others versus State of Tamil Nadu and others. The judgment came on 6th January 2014, and it made two things very clear. One is you can take over a temple or a charity only if there is serious proven mismanagement. Two, the takeover has to be for correcting the mismanagement, and then immediately it follows that the institution is given back. Now, today, the TN government claims to control 44,000 plus temples in Tamil Nadu, of which more than 35,000 temples do not even have an annual income of 10,000 rupees. That is a monthly income of less than 800 rupees, a daily income of less than 30 rupees. Why should government indulge in managing these impoverished temples? That's the first question. Number two, how long can they do it? Dr. Swamy argued the Chidambaram temple case on Article 31A 1B, where he very clearly pointed out to the court that any law providing for a limited period of takeover alone can be sustained. If the law provides that it can be an unlimited period of takeover, it will be struck down.
Yeah.
So the Chidambaram temple judgment, which says a limited period, is very much based on Article 31A 1B. You have to correct the mismanagement and then get out. And 7 years have passed since the judgment has come. There is no record of Tamil Nadu government giving back a temple back to the person from whose hands they have taken them, or even correcting the mismanagement and say, this is how the temple was when we took over and this is how it is now. They have no such records. Based on the Chidambaram temple judgment, if you see Chidambaram temple judgment in para 41, the honorable judges quote Dr. Swamy's argument that rules have to be framed before the commissioner could use his power to appoint an executive officer. The rules were not framed. So based on the same principle, I challenge the presence of the executive officer in Payani temple, the richest temple in Tamil Nadu. In 2020 September, a learned single judge of the Madras High Court in Madurai declared the presence of executive officer in Payani temple as illegal, as a fraud on the statute. Government and HRNC department panicked and they appealed before the Madras High Court, seeking to set aside the judgment of the learned single judge. But the division bench of the Madras High Court refused to set aside the order. But till date, the executive officer has not gone out of the temple. If this is not draconian, what is draconian? They have taken over 44,000 temples without citing any mismanagement, without mentioning a period of operation of the order of the executive officer. And in many cases, there are no orders of executive officers at all. I filed a case in 2020 regarding 70 temples, 70 most important temples in Tamil Nadu, because I got the clue from Chidambaram temple case. When, as a counter to Dr. Swamy's petition, Tamil Nadu government claimed that we have appointed executive officers to Sree Kanchi Kamachi Amman temple, the temple which belongs to Kanchi Mutt. So why can't we appoint executive officer to Chidambaram temple? When that counter was filed, Dr. Swamy saw that and he said, there's something fishy about this. Can you investigate further? He asked me to investigate further. And when I investigated, it turned out there was no order ever issued appointing an executive officer to Kanchi Kamachi Amman temple. And that was the beginning. Today I have RTA replies for 200 plus temples where there are no orders at all. So in 2020, for 70 temples, I filed a writ petition. In their counter, the Tamil Nadu government did not deny that the presence of executive officers in those temples are without orders. They did not deny that fact. In 2022, May, I filed another bill for 47 temples saying that there are no orders of appointment issued for executive officers to be in this temple. So they should get out of this temple. The Honorable Division Bench of Madras High Court saw the seriousness of the matter and it issued Rule Nisi. Rule Nisi means the court is asking why we should not sanction the prayer of the petitioner. Prima facie, we are convinced. Second, the Honorable Division Bench also ordered protection of the appointment orders in the 47 temples. That was in May 2022. Till date, the HRNC department has not been able to produce a single order of appointment. So it is very, very obvious that HRNC department's executive officers in the temples are there only by fraud and deceit. The first place, they have no business to be there. Second, they can be only there if there is serious mismanagement and for a limited period. That's the outcome of Chidambaram Temple judgment in 2014. And third, there are no orders at all. They just gone and occupied there. They are encroachers. They are transgressors. So this is draconian. Now, what happens to the fund? As Dr. Swamy said, the administration fee and the audit fee. In 2020, the end of thing, I filed a case and MR Venkatesh argued that case. The case is still pending. That is, the HRNC Act of Tamil Nadu provides only for external audit, whereas there is only internal audit in for temples in Tamil Nadu. So that this court should order external audit. Now, you know what?
Violation of their own act?
Yes. In many instances, they do that. You know what HRNC department has done now? They have moved their internal audit department to finance department, and they say it is external audit from one department of government to another department of government, and they say you have made it external, and they charge 4% of the temple's gross income as audit fee.
Yeah.
They made 70 crore rupees profit in 2016-17 by just auditing temples. 70 crore rupees. That is, the temples had to pay that much more for an audit which does not result in anything. 1.5 million audit objections are pending from 1986 without resolution. And the funds of the temples are transferred for government purposes. In Payani, they have taken 3.5 crore rupees from the temple funds to do some extension work in the Payani bus stand, which is the job of the municipality. They have taken 33 crore rupees to provide some drinking water scheme in Payani. Again, the job of the municipality. In Srirangam, the government hospital is run in temple land. For 30 years, they have not paid rent. The
And
HRNC
the rent would
office,
be some pittance, right, Ramesh? The rent would be some pittance amount anyway.
returns, not the fair rent. In Tirunelveli, the HRNC office, the regional joint commissioner's office, is functioning out of Tiruchendur temple land. They have not paid rent from 2001. And recently, they have bought some 70, 80 Bolero jeeps for the HRNC department, all from the temple money. Some temples have bought more than one jeeps because the regional joint commissioner needs one jeep and the additional commissioner needs one. The Innova, fully loaded Innova car of Kapalishwara temple is being used by the additional commissioner, who is an IAS, who anyway gets another car from the government. And these are all very, very small examples. There is much bigger looting there, especially in the civil works, because there is no proper audit. About 6,000 crore rupees need to be collected from the temple lands every year. Government collects 150 crores. About 2.5% of the target amount.
So Ramesh, coming to the critical thing. So before we just move, I'll move on to Sree, and then we'll come back. There are some questions from the viewers, and then we can take that up, and we will hold it in that way. Is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay. So Sree, welcome to the show again. You've been covering this extensively in Tigros, and you've been, with different people helping you, and you've been voicing this out openly. I don't think there's any other outlet that's out there that's being very blunt, open, and covering this as much. So from your whatever you've covered so far, and given that you should have definitely heard about the impact of what the letter Dr. Swamy has written to Stalin. So what are your thoughts on this subject? So give us a few things about what you.
One thing that, first of all, thank you so much, Dr. Swamy and VHS family, for inviting me on this program. This is a matter that's very near and dear to my heart. And what I have been watching is that, even though everybody knows that what they are doing is not inside the law, in boundaries of the law, people continue to do this thing because they feel that nobody can touch them. And Dr. Swamy, I'm going to, instead of talking about this, I'm going to ask you a counter question, sir. Let's say you move the Supreme Court now, and the Supreme Court agrees with you that the DMK government is in contempt of the order that was passed in the Sabanayaka temple in 2014. They have been in contempt for 8 years. What can the Supreme Court do?
Well, they will need forces, to go and arrest them if they don't comply. They have that power, but the forces have to be provided by the central government. I'm not sure about my central government because in Uttarakhand, I had to put up a real fight to get the temples, which all the temples of Uttarakhand were nationalized by the state government on orders from the center, and the chief minister was appointed as chairman of all the temples. Badrinath, Kedarnath, you can name the holy of holiest temples. They did it. I went to court. So the High Court, there was such a tension and so on, but still the judge did one thing which was very good for me, and that was, he said, the treasury was being transferred to the chief minister's office. The treasury will be, the treasure box will be maintained by the chief minister. So he got that, he struck that down as unconstitutional. Then I filed in the Supreme Court. And by then, I think people advised them that now, in Supreme Court, because of the Savanaigar case, he'll win. And so they withdrew. And there was an election also coming, and the pujaris were out on the streets. It is a sight which people have never seen, pujaris coming on the streets. And so the BJP government withdrew the nationalization of these temples now. So what I am telling you is just this, that you may claim to be a good Hindu, you may be going to temples, but the respect that you should show for a temple is now what the British had hoped to do, they seem to have succeeded. There's very little respect from the authorities, amongst the authorities. The temple should be treated the way any other religious institution. I'm not saying that the mosque shouldn't be treated the same way, except that unless the mosque is built by demolishing a temple, I would protect a mosque at any time, and so will a church. But there's not even a whiff of investigation about them. Only the temples they are concentrating on.
Let me finish what my thought was. Thank you, Dr. Swamy. So I'm trying to see from a
No, it's short answer, I'll tell you, because somebody has put in a question also. Contempt is fine, but to execute that contempt, for instance, it's a criminal contempt, it is a criminal contempt, then the police or the BSF or the CRP has to be provided to go and arrest Mr. Stalin and the other members of the cabinet. Now, will the center give that police or not?
So again, I'll counter this thing. Why can't the Supreme Court, before even it starts passing judgment, say, I need a standing force, that I have the authority to send them to execute what I am giving by way of verdict?
It will be ignored. I'm telling you.
Sir, let me tell you, I wanted to compare how things are working in India and how things work in the United States. And people can say this is a developed country, blah, 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 but at least do 1% of what happens here. Sir, there are temples in Silicon Valley, which is more liberal than most of US. And even here, there are limits within which these temples have to work. For instance, if the city governs how the temple shall work. If the city says you can have your parking space only in this area, they have to comply with that. If somebody parks outside of that, and if one of the residents complains, that car will be towed away. If the temple has been given a time to operate, let's say 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 8:01, the neighbors or around the temple can complain, and the temple will be shut down if they don't comply. There'll be a couple of warnings, of course. What I'm trying to say is all these religious establishments in the United States, they are given a very short leash, and the law is supreme. The law says this is what you have to do, and there is nobody who can stand up and say that, no, this doesn't apply to me. Even Bill Clinton, the president of the country, was sweating, sir.
Sree,
what I'm trying to say here is that people think, anytime you stop somebody and try to apply the law, the first thing they ask is, do you know who my dad is? They should be asking their mother that question. Anyway, the point I'm trying to say is the law and order is the same for everybody. And when we see, I'm actually asking you very difficult questions. I know the answer to these things, but I want people to understand this is what you're up against. What can the people do? My 2 cents, don't put money in the hundi. You want to say, okay, what does the Hindu culture say? If something happens, I'm going through a troubled time. If I get out of this, or Muruga, I will give you 1,000 rupees or 1 gold chain. Yes, you keep it inside your house. People will put a cloth and tie it, and that will be hanging near your puja room. Just keep doing that. This mess has to stop. The only way you can stop this mess is by putting money into the hundi. Don't put money in the hundi, and they are also going to come after the archakas to try and get the money that is put on the tattu. So the archaka should have a UPI code. So if I want to give something for the sambhavana for the archaka, I can just scan the UPI code and give him money. That way the government will also get the tax benefit out of that. This is what I can say is doable, because somewhere this DMK government in particular and the rest of the governments who are trying to usurp temples have to feel the pain, sir.
No, they can feel the pain if the Hindus of Tamil Nadu all decide that we will not vote for DMK under any circumstance. Tomorrow the DMK will change. But they don't do that.
Dr. Swamy, I think in a way, that is slowly, that very in a small way, that wave is happening. And that is the reason why now we have seen maybe a scratch on the surface kind of change is happening. right? I mean, they are afraid now. So when you write a letter, Stalin's immediately responding. What was the response, Ramesh? He said that temples are public institutions, they're not private, right?
Yeah, they're not
No,
private
they
property.
belong to the
No, public.
they
They belong to the
belong to the
public.
people, which is a very vague
People.
statement.
A vague state. Dr. Swamy, being Sree, this government is an atheist government. They are anti-Hindu. They're anti-Bible. Why in God's name do they want to control temple? Number one, right? I mean, it is hypocrite. The bunch of hypocrites. If they say that God doesn't exist, why are you controlling the temples?
No, I would
Let me
say
answer.
rather than focusing on the DMK, focus on the people who claim to be Hindus. Tell them that you have to unite. If you really value this on a high priority basis, unite once for the elections. The elections are not very far away, 2 years more. And that is, I'm talking about the Lok Sabha, and that's also equally important as compared to the Assembly. So let the people say, and let us provide them with a if the BJP doesn't improve, you can always have a Hindu party which is unashamedly Hindu, and put up candidates in all 40 seats, including Panchari, and let's test the public. That's the only way. Why do you think why do you think in Uttarakhand Modi backed off? Because it was clear that the public is going to vote against BJP. And the Intelligence Bureau reports, all that came, it said that on this issue, they will defeat us. And the man who was to come in as chief minister, whom later on Sonia Gandhi ditched, Harish Rawat, he was considered as one of the people who valued Hindu values and so on. So it was all ready. And so I think it's partly our own fault, all those we are Tamilians and Hindus, that we are not able to make a one-point decision on this, and then you will get it. Anyway, sorry.
And it's Dr. Swamy, don't you think so that the government is...
Yes, time, yeah.
Okay, go ahead, Sree.
Sir, I don't have any faith in any party government. I know you belong to BJP. BJP has bared its fangs in Uttarakhand. What I want is something that the Hindus can figure out for themselves. They need to make sure that there are bounds within which the government has to work. They need to understand the police can't arbitrarily take any order from anybody and just go and arrest people for just assembling peacefully. What nonsense are they trying to do? Would they do it in a church? Would they do it in a mosque?
So Ramesh, you wanted to say something.
Yeah. See, basically, the presence of executive officers through whom the HRC department controls temples is illegal in every temple under the control of the HRC department. Like 44,000 temples, they have 628 executive officers controlling them. I challenge, or any one of us can challenge, HRC department to show a valid order by which the said executive officer is functioning. They cannot. I sincerely believe that we need to focus on Dr. Swamy's statement or notice, whichever way we want to take it, and take it forward to the Supreme Court and get it declared by Supreme Court that yes, the HRMC department is functioning in the temple without any legal authority. Now, the law laid down by Supreme Court has to be followed by all courts and by the governments. Article 141 says so. The law declared by Supreme Court in Chidambaram temple matter is the law to be followed by all HRMC department, whether it's Kerala or Tamil Nadu or Odisha or Karnataka or Andhra. They have to follow. They can take over a temple only for a limited period, set it right and give it back. And who do they give it back? To the hands of the people from whose hands they took over. Now, if there is an ambiguity there, the courts can frame fresh schemes of administration. Dr. Swamy can give umpteen points by which a temple can be managed in these days with accounting standards, auditing standards, transparency, accountability. So it is not a big thing. All we have to do is get the presence declared illegal. The hundi and other things will follow later. Let's not focus there. Let's focus on the cases, because we have a wonderful judgment in the Chidambaram Temple order. We need to take it forward. We have not capitalized on that. That we need to do. I have got an order in the Palani matter. I need to pursue it. So we need some 20, 40 legal luminaries coming and taking up the Chidambaram Temple judgment and working on that basis in different states, and particularly in Tamil Nadu. Senior council should come forward. Hindu senior council should come forward and wage this battle to the best of their ability.
Right, Ramesh, there was one question from viewer saying that is Chidambaram Temple order valid for across the country? It's obviously valid because it's from the Supreme Court, correct? So any
yes, Article
temple,
141.
any state.
Take Article 141, the law declared in this matter. All courts will have to follow.
Yeah. And there are sophisticated objections also. Some people say, no, this is what is it? Article 26. Denomination. Now, this denomination concept, you see, Sampradaya, these temples, there's no mention of that at all, except that in this particular case of Subramanian, it was as a Sampradaya, you see, the Dikshitas. But the issue was not whether they because they were Sampradaya, therefore should be allowed. The whole thing was totally illegal. The order, everything was illegal. So that's how it was struck down. But and in fact, the court in paragraphs 60 to 68 make it very clear that this is a general thing. It is not applicable to any particular denomination.
And so, Dr. Swamy,
yes, I think Arvind seemed to have come.
No, Arvind is, he's not opened his video up. Arvind, okay, there you go. Arvind ji, आप कुछ कहना चाहते हैं कि ये मुद्दे पर? You are muted, sir. आप unmute कीजिए, please.
Muted.
Yeah, Dr. Swamy, Mr. Ramesh, and Mr. Sree Iyer. There are three important points that I want to make. Unfortunately, I mean, there's nothing negative about it, but still, before I came in, all the people from Tamil Nadu were there on this panel. The temple issue is not only restricted to Tamil Nadu or limited to Tamil Nadu. Dr. Swamy has pointed out earlier in response to some question from Ramesh that even in Uttarakhand is, the extreme north in India, the similar thing has happened. Now, my question is slightly different. My first question is, though Mr. Ramesh tried to answer this question just a while ago about whom should the government hand over in case of temples which government had taken over. But this is not all the case, only the case. Take, for example, the case of Ayodhya. अयोध्या में भारत सरकार ने एक मैं थोड़ा हिंदी में बोल रहा हूँ, आई थिंक यू विल अंडरस्टैंड, आई विल ट्रांसलेट अदरवाइज. अयोध्या में भारत सरकार ने एक बहुत बड़ा मंदिर बनाने का जो संकल्प लिया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट के ऑर्डर के बाद. निर्माण अभी चालू है और ये निर्माण एक ट्रस्ट के निर्देश पे चल रहा है. वो ट्रस्ट भारत सरकार ने बनाया है. अब 3 दिन पहले, 3 days back, then organization called Hindu Mahasabha approached Supreme Court saying that we should be a party to the trust. First of all, maybe one can argue always that Hindu Mahasabha is not really a representative body of Hindus. If that is not, then which is the body which is representative of Hindus, which could find a place in a trust like Ayodhya? Number one. Number two, Supreme Court...
Arvind ji, let's take one question at a time. So, Dr. Swamy, okay. your response to it.
So, Supreme Court also rejected. I think I would like Dr. Swamy also to react, and Mr. Ramesh also to react, and Mr. Sree too.
Dr. Swamy, you go ahead, please.
Well, you see, the question... I personally think that what happened in Ayodhya was not the model we should follow.
Okay.
Yes.
because it was a naked, unashamed effort to keep everybody out except the Prime Minister. And everybody answerable to only those people who are answerable to the Prime Minister in a yes man system.
Hmm.
Shishi Ravi Shankar played a major role in persuading the Muslims to accept money and go for an alternative site. He was kept out. Large numbers of sadhus who have been keeping this issue alive, very senior people, they've been kept out.
Even Jayendra Saraswati Swamigar, he was very instrumental in.
Yeah, no. So I think the Ayodhya model, I am not in favor. There were unfortunately Dayanand Saraswati is not here. Dayanand Saraswati, Pejawar Mutt, Swamy, all the top sadhus had a meeting which I attended, where they decided to set up a committee. And I used to jokingly say we have Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha, now we'll have Acharya Sabha also. So let there be a Sabha of Acharyas who can have the moral authority to pass fatwas or when there are nirdeshas and so on. So that is a system we can work on. But at the moment, wherever you can discover that there has been, like in the Sabanaikar thing, that it was taken from from a group and then made into a government thing, and they still existed, and you give it. Those you can do immediately. Where you can't, Padmanabha Swami Temple, I was not able to, in that limited framework, suggest what could be done. So that's come to the Supreme Court. Is still lying in the Supreme Court. I hope to argue that matter. But I think time has come, perhaps with the help of the Supreme Court, we should create a new body which is acceptable to the public. And if it's Supreme Court ordained, people will accept it, not government ordained.
Ranji, आप म्यूट में unmute कीजिए please, unmute.
Dr. Swamy, related to this, there are two other temples which I think I should raise it here. First is the Somnath temple in Gujarat. Somnath temple were taken over by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and the trust was formed by government, Congress government then. Now, government of the day still controls that temple, and Pradhan Mantri is the head of that body. Now, indirectly, this is also under government control. Number one. Number two, take Tirupati. Tirupati Devasthanam, TTD, it comes under Andhra government now. And Andhra government, the YSR Congress leader, Jagan Mohan's relative is heading that temple, the trust. I think that trust is one of the largest collection of money every day in that.
But that trust was not formed by Jagan. It has been going on for
but
since
still under Andhra Pradesh government. Now tomorrow if Jagan Mohan Reddy is not there, some other person comes. If tomorrow Jagan Mohan Reddy,
that has been going on. The Congress was there.
Ultimately, the chief minister will appoint the head of the TDD.
No, Arvindji. I mean, so the issue is this. I think, Dr. Swamy, what is the remedy? Obviously, governments want to control temples in some form, shape, or the other, right?
The remedy is call all the Shankaracharyas who are still alive. I mean, who are prominent people. The Sringeri Acharyas, the one in Orissa, is another very great scholar. People like that, unfortunately, both Jayendra Saraswati and Parmacharya are no more in the soil. And even the Jyotir, this Jyotir, what is that mountain? The Gujarat Shankaracharya Mutt, it's that person has also passed away. So there is a shortage of Shankaracharyas, but there are others who are quite very prominent, very respected, and should get about 11 people like that and form a committee. And all the liberated temples by a court order should be given to them and saying that you please create a management for them. That is the only way, because otherwise there'll be disputes. You can't leave it any political group. You can't have political groups. You can't do. Yes, Somnath was a different matter altogether. It's not a thing that can be replicated, and even that Arvind is right that it's why should it be managed by the government? It should be managed by Gujarat is a very religious place. It should be managed by the ordinary people. So there are solutions to that. The issue is not that. The issue is the required focus.
Ramesh, you wanted to say something.
Yeah, the way the central government is going in Ayodhya, they would rather build a Disneyland some project like that. They're not doing a pilgrimage thing. They are doing some tourist, and they have kept all the traditional sampradayas away from the temple.
Yes.
Totally draconian. And I also think the Honorable Supreme Court, the Constitutional Bench, made a great mistake in page 927 when it gave the power to the central government to frame the scheme and deem appropriately. They are not doing it appropriately. It's a government temple, in my opinion.
No, but Ramesh, I think the intention of the Supreme Court was they had some kind of a trust that the government will do justice to it, but sadly, that's not the case.
Justice only courts can do.
Okay. Yeah, governments also depend on who man it, or the person.
And Somnath also should come to the appropriate local communities with the sampradayas.
So, Dr. Swamy, based on... Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
As far as Tirupati is concerned, so Sree Vaishnava temple, the agamas of the temple are very clear. The earlier Matadhipatis who are connected to the temple are very clear, but it is a huge institution. So we need something a little more than what was the traditional administration, but without 1% of the government being there. We need the traditional acharyas, we need the sampradaya, the Sree Vaishnavas, and we need experts in management and
finance, law, whatever, right? It's like a committee.
Yeah. All this.
My court case is pending.
He has given a written this thing as the management for the Travancore Devaswam the case. He's given a whole list of people who should be included, including the traditional temple servants.
Tirupati, just 1 minute. Tirupati case, I had filed a case and I made two demands. One, that the accounts should be not audited by the state government, but by the CAG. That has been agreed to, and I must say Mr. Jagan also agreed that would be much easier for him if that happened. So this is the only place in the whole country where the temple accounts are being audited by CAG. The second thing is that it should be returned once it's identified to whom it should be returned. So both are there, but I can't find anybody who can who without a controversy can be brought in, and that's where the sadhus and sannyasis, prominent sadhus and sannyasis, should get together and do it. If Dayanand Saraswati was alive, I would have definitely got it done by him.
Just one observation, Dr. Swamy. The Andhra High Court division bench, the first bench of Andhra High Court, has recently come with an excellent judgment based on the Chidambaram temple judgment, argued by senior counsel Sridharan, that the Ahobilam temple is part and parcel of the Ahobilam mutt, and government has absolutely no role to play there.
That's right.
Wonderful judgment, and again based on Chidambaram temple judgment and Article 31A1B. It's a great thing.
Sabhi log with Arvind ji, you probably explain in Hindi the importance of how this Chidambaram judgment is the bedrock for a fight across for Hindus. You can explain it to the Hindus when listening, saying that they could learn from all of these things that we are talking about today. If you could just explain to the viewers briefly, very briefly, tell them why this is important.
रमेश जी, चिदम्बरम जरूर एक उदाहरण है हमारे न्यायालय के जो निर्णय अभी तक आए हैं उनके लिए, और ये समस्त हिंदू मंदिरों के लिए, ट्रस्टों के लिए जरूर अपरिहार्य है, लगना चाहिए। लेकिन सिर्फ ये उन मंदिरों पर लागू होगा जहां पर पहले प्रबंधन दूसरा था और सरकार ने उनका अधिग्रहण कर लिया। जब सरकार ने उनका अधिग्रहण कर लिया, उस करने के बाद सुप्रीम कोर्ट ये निर्णय कहता है कोर्ट का कि सरकार किन लोगों को ये वापस करे। 31A की जो रमेश जी बात कर रहे हैं, ये बात जो कर रहे हैं कि कौन से लोग होंगे जो सरकार से वापस ये लेंगे। लेकिन मेरा जो दो उदाहरण मैंने दिए थे, उन उदाहरण के अलावा सैकड़ों मंदिर भारत में ऐसे अभी भी हैं जो अभी भी एक प्रश्न चिन्ह बने हुए हैं। वो ये है कि जहां सरकार ने अधिग्रहण नहीं किया है, लेकिन शुरू से वो सरकार के नियंत्रण में है, उन मंदिरों के लिए, जैसे डॉक्टर स्वामी ने बताया, मेरा सिर्फ एक प्रश्न जो अभी भी अधूरा रह गया, शायद मिस्टर रमेश कैन आल्सो थ्रो सम लाइट ऑन दैट. What about representation made by Hindu Mahasabha? If Hindu Mahasabha is not a true representative body of the Hindus, which body can claim to be the true representative of the Hindus and claim to be part of the system administration?
No, but Arvindji, isn't there inherently, we don't have one single, like Dr. Swamy always, we don't have one single book, one single philosophy, we don't have
16
one
Hindu Mahasabhas, by the way.
Yes, यही प्रश्न है.
Is split into that 16.
हाँ, करेक्ट. तो और हिंदू महासभा एक राजनीतिक पार्टी थी. 50 साल पहले हिंदू महासभा एक राजनीतिक पार्टी थी जो बुरी तरह हारी, चुनाव के बाद कई चुनाव में हार चुकी है. तो हम ऐसा नहीं कर सकते कोई हिंदू के नाम पर राजनीतिक पार्टी बना ले और वो पार्टी अपना क्लेम करे कि हम प्रतिनिधि करते हैं हिंदुत्व का. तो जरूर मुझे लगता है कि शंकराचार्य जी को, जो हमारे चारों शंकराचार्य हैं और जो साधु संत हैं, इनको साथ में आकर एक इस प्रकार का कोई एक तंत्र बनाना चाहिए, सिस्टम बनाना चाहिए जो ये क्लेम कर सके कि जितनी भी धरोहर, हेरिटेज, हिंदू हेरिटेज दैट बिलोंग्स टू दिस बॉडी और द पीपल हु आर हेडिंग दिस बॉडी. सो डॉक्टर स्वामी, आप जैसे लोगों को भी इसमें इनिशिएटिव लेना चाहिए. और जरूर आपने दयानंद सरस्वती जी का उदाहरण दिया, वो अब नहीं है, लेकिन जो भी शंकराचार्य, आपका बहुत शंकराचार्यों से परिचय है, व्यक्तिगत परिचय है, उन शंकराचार्यों से भी हम इस कार्यक्रम के माध्यम से अनुरोध कर सकते हैं कि वो आगे आए. हिंदू समाज के साधु संत भारत के विभिन्न हिस्सों से, सिर्फ अयोध्या, मथुरा और तिरुपति और एक मंदिर की बात नहीं, काशी की बात नहीं है, सारे हिंदू समाज के जो महंत हैं, जो अलग अलग हिंदू संगठनों को, धार्मिक संगठनों को नेतृत्व देते हैं, ऐसे लोगों को आगे आना चाहिए. एंड आई वुड लाइक योर रिएक्शन ऑन दिस.
Sree Iyer.
Sree Iyer.
Sir, I look forward to the day that Acharya Sabha gets formed, and when the Acharya Sabha says jump, the government, state, center, wherever, asks how high. Until that happens, we should not rest. That's all I want to say.
Okay, but Sree, you have seen reactions.
Is that a possibility? Is that a possibility?
No, but we can't. Obviously, because that's what Dr. Swamy's fight is. Because once the court order comes in, I think that's what Swamy is mentioning earlier. Is how do we fight? And Dr. Swamy alone cannot fight. That's what he's saying. We have to unite. We don't, right? We have 16 Hindu Mahasabhas, which shows is there a unity there? At the end of the day, Dr. Swamy has talked about Hindu unity for a long time. Even though we are divided, and we are continuing to get divided. Yes, Ramesh.
We have the Chidambaram temple judgment. Before uniting the Hindus, let's unite 25 senior councils. We will have a great victory in Supreme Court. I'm telling you.
Sree,
there are some great councils who can use the Chidambaram temple judgment as Brahmastra. And it was already used. It was already used in the Sabarimala case.
Yes.
And we will get victory if it properly used again, because the earlier judgment, in my humble opinion, was faulty. You should have seen legal luminaries like Singhvi arguing, Sri Parasaran arguing. They can come forward, use Chidambaram temple judgment as Brahmastra, and we will unite Hindus by securing victory. We should get the victory, and then with that victory, we should secure Hindus unity.
So anyway, so we all our prayers, we appeal to all Hindus. the easiest thing the Hindus can do is pray for your success, Ramesh, and pray for Dr. Swamy's success. Obviously, I mean, the bedrock of all our fights is thanks
No,
to
we
Dr.
need to do
Swamy.
more than pray. We need to do our duty.
So, Sree, one last question, and before I go to Arvind to conclude it. In articles that you publish in Pigros, what has been the response in general? What has been the people's response as far as this control of temples matter?
No, everybody is passionate. They say that the government should be out of temples. The challenge again and again comes back to give it to whom, because they have been in control for 30, 40 years. The dharmakartas that used to be responsible, those guys have been displaced. Most of the time in states like Tamil Nadu, they put people who will do their bidding as a dharmakartas. They'll find another way to bring them in. And so this system is completely broken, Ramesh. That's why I started my question back with a counter question to Dr. Swamy, saying that what power does the Supreme Court have to enforce the contempt of court? You see, this is something that I still want to see how that can be solved. Someone has to be afraid of the law. Right now, even the Prime Minister is not afraid. I'm sorry to say.
No, Sree, I agree. And you mentioned that example of US. Basically, there is...
The court is afraid to use contempt powers.
Yeah, because they know it will not be honored.
Yeah, when they lose face.
They're hesitant. They're very hesitant.
Sree, I don't think there is dearth of laws. This Dr. Swamy has already said that. I don't think there is a dearth of law in India. It's the enforceability that is the challenge.
Yeah.
I'll give you a simple example as to how even the Acharya Sabha will be very difficult, because some of the Adhinam heads, when they tried to start speaking, the DMK governments or their surrogates sent goons. They were afraid for their life. Dharmapuram and Ramesh ji knows what I'm talking about. Now, see, what they have figured out is these people are dharmic people. They are not going to come to the streets. They don't have numbers. Okay, so if we just physically threaten them, they'll keep quiet. So
they have filed a false case against me, saying that I made an unlawful assembly of people in Kapalishwar temple. I was not even in the city today.
Right. Yeah, I started with that. Remember, I said that if 10 people cannot assemble in a temple, but hundreds will assemble in a church or a mosque, the government has no problem with that. What kind of unequal dispensation of law and order is this?
So anyway, Arvind,
and I completely don't understand what Mr. Stalin is trying to say in his response to Dr. Swamy's letter.
But one thing I'll say, this is the first time that the DMK has been directly challenged on the Hindu issue. Otherwise, all our great Tikawalas and Janewalas have all been running away the moment the DMK people took a stand. You see,
Dr. Swamy,
all the intellectuals from Tamil Nadu, they can't stand up to the DMK.
Dr. Swamy, my humble request to you, sir, get a majority of the body of the Acharyas, all of them, you all decide one day of the year. This day, everybody shall go to the temple, to the religious place that they like to go, and not put a dime, not put a paisa on hundi, just go pray to the God and come back. One day, show that solidarity.
You don't know the Acharyas. They'll never listen to me on that.
Sir, you are the one who has fought their battles for them, sir.
I agree, but I can make them do other things, but I can't make them say.
Dr. Swamy, money is the oxygen. Money is the oxygen. These
but
people
Sree,
are after.
Hundi is not the only source. Sree, Hundi is not the only source.
I know, but somewhere you have to show. See, Ramesh, I am seeing what can be doable. Okay, first to do one day, then do 1 week, then do 1 month, then start asking questions.
But I think the approach...
I think we should sit separately once and then come back to this kind of program and say what needs to be done.
Okay, sir. Will do.
Right now,
have International Women's Day, Men's Day. Why don't we have International No Money to the Hundis Day? And that day, everybody goes to the temple but doesn't pay anything.
Well,
because they have to understand, sir, there is a system right now in place. Even the Archakas are making use of it.
Says,
take a horse to whatever.
We'll think this through and have another program which
Yes.
says what Hindus need to do, especially what Hindus in Tamil Nadu need to do.
Yeah, what common man needs to do. Yeah.
Okay, Arvindji,
Arvind.
conclude. Ji.
First of all, Dr. Swamy, congratulations to you that you have threatened the DMK. And you said you will go to the court for the contempt of the court if they do not follow it. I think
Dr. Swamy, Arvindji, I think
what
Dr.
Sree
Swamy
Iyer
has
was-
said. I think Dr. Swamy has said if they don't do it, I think January 23rd or somewhere around
Yeah,
that
yeah.
time,
There's deadline that has been given to them.
he's going to go back. He said he's given them the deadline till the 23rd of January.
So this is like putting the fear of God in DMK's mind. That's the number one. Second, before I
Fear of
wind up,
Swamy, you mean? Fear of
Yes.
Swamy.
yeah,
Swamy is
Swamy.
also God.
And before, let me just react to Mr. Sree Iyer's suggestion about not putting the money in the hundis for temples. I would say there are lakhs and lakhs of temples throughout the country which are well managed by a very small trust, maybe a family trust, or maybe a local trust in the particular district and so on. But all these temples are running successfully. That means there is a demonstration of successful management, which also government should take note of. Number one. Number two, if the Hindus have to adopt the suggestion which is put forward by Mr. Sree Iyer, it should be only for those temples where the hundi is controlled by the government.
Looks like his screen is frozen.
Whose screen?
If I could come in just real quick.
Go ahead,
Yeah, sure.
See, the situation today in Chidambaram temple is the DMK government knows it has no rights to do anything there. The DMK government fully knows there are no hundis inside the temple. The government fully knows there is no misappropriation possible the way the Pudu Dikshidars are running the temple. Yet it wants to put its nose in. They want to demonstrate in front of the temple.
But
They
that
want to
is
find
more to do their
what the-
hatred, Sree. That is more to do
I
with
know,
their
I
hatred.
understand. See, what I'm just counterpointing to Arvindji, that a well-managed temple also is facing these kind of problems. See,
Right.
Arvindji, you take one temple. If you think that it's not possible to do all that, find one temple which is the richest temple in that state and say that today don't put any money. Sir, somewhere in the Hindu inside has to discover his spine. Sir, that is my concern.
No,
Well,
Ayerji, not
No,
only
I
the
see
temple, it is the entire religious organization. One viewer has actually suggested, and I mean, given an example of Radha Swamy. This Radha Swamy Nyas is spread throughout the length and breadth of the country, and they are managing very well on voluntary basis without any interference and
No, but
control of the
Arvindji-
government.
Arvindji,
That means the
one
bodies
second.
can demonstrate this.
Yeah, Arvindji, before we conclude, let's just get to the conclusion because we're already going past 15 minutes over. Please don't advertise agencies that are doing well because the government will take them over tomorrow. Please don't advertise.
Okay.
You're muted again, Arvindji. Muted again. Please unmute yourself. Unmute yourself, please.
This-
Yeah, and just let's conclude. It's already 15
This
minutes over.
this program, even after 75 minutes, we have not come to a conclusion, and that is for the simple reason the subject is so wide and opinion is so different that it is very difficult to bring everybody to a consensus. Every panelist in today's panel has been a crusader in their own right. Mr. Ramesh, leading the Worshipper Society. Mr. Sree Iyer has been doing so much research on this subject. And what to talk about Dr. Swamy? For last 30 years at least, he has been in this movement. And he has been raising voice in every platform which is available to him. Any court which is available to him, he has been fighting. And as I said, I must congratulate him once again towards the end of the program about this DMK business. And I'm sure DMK will also take a lesson and they will be scared of Dr. Swamy's intervention now and they'll do something. So thank you all the panelists for this program. And as Dr. Swamy has suggested, he will make some efforts and come up with some alternative suggestions. And those suggestions, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, if we have listed suggestions, perhaps it will be better for us to do on a structured options. We'll discuss in that program. We'll invite Mr. Ramesh and Sree Iyer once again for those programs. And Dr. Swamy will, of course, be with us. So it may remain inconclusive today, but that does not mean that the importance is lost. We still are chasing this mirage that someday government will voluntarily give up the control of the temples and to the rightful owners of that body, whether it is under 31A or whichever, and we will identify that, or Hindus will identify that, or Hindus should identify that. Thank you very much, Dr. Swamy. Thank you, Mr. Sree Iyer. Thank you, Mr. T.R. Ramesh and Ramesh Swamy for this. We also thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Tejas Navalgul, and Vishal Mehta and Ajesh Nair for putting up this program together. We'll be meeting again next Sunday, 11th of December, with a new topic with Dr. Subramanian Swamy and maybe other panelists. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.